Hi, I'm Cass Garner, and you're listening to the Solo Nerdbird podcast. Today, I'll be speaking with the creator and writer of the webtoon Blue Tempest, here to promote his Kickstarter, Liquan Cruz. I apologize. Welcome, Liquan.
It's fine. Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, outside of my introduction, who is Liquan Cruz, and what are you about?
Um, Let me see. I mean, I'm just a simple guy. Um, I like manga and anime. I've always been watching manga and anime since I was like, I don't know, like 10.
Mhm.
And I'm just a nerd. At the base core, I like everything like nerd related and stuff like that. So yeah. And what I do, I mean, I have many talents, I would say. I'm a photographer as well as, the creator of Blue Tempest. And yeah, I'm just an all around creative, I sketch in my um pastime when I'm not doing photography. And I just have a wide imagination, which led me to want to create the webtoon.
Did you see the new Attack on Titan? I haven't seen it yet, so don't spoil it. But yeah, it came on the other day.
Yes, I've seen it and I've read the manga, so I mean, I already know what's gonna happen
Uh,
all together. So, but yeah, I watched it. I don't watch that and the new Demon Slayer. I don't know if you caught that as well.
no, I haven't. I haven't caught the new Demon Slayer yet. I have such a queue of anime that I need to catch up on. It's ridiculous.
I
At
get
this
it.
point, I just kind of almost. I just want to give up. It's just so much. But
Hmm.
what is Blue Tempest about?
Let me see. As a summary, without spoiling too much, I would say that it's just this action-based slash fantasy story about this main character called Rihan, who's part of, well, there are two groups in the webtoon. One would be the bandits, and then one would be the Orochi. The Orochi is like a dictatorship organization that seeks to control the world and regulate things, while the bandits are the other group. I mean, I wouldn't say they're the good guys, but they want to more or less liberate the people that are being in the dictatorship by the Orochi. So I guess you could look at them like, I guess, Robin Hood or so. So yeah, it's these two opposing sides, and they're battling it out for supremacy of the land that they live in, called Edo, basically. And yeah, throughout the story, we just see the main character go through the struggles of having to deal with the Orochi and finally get done with the war, because the war has been going on for like maybe like 400 years now. It's been a very long and lengthy thing. So now we just see the climax of that within these next chapters of the webtoon. And as of right now, they're about like 80 to 90 chapters. So it's a lengthy process that I have going out. And by the end, we'll just hopefully see it work out in the bandits' favor.
Can you elaborate on the creative process on Blue Tempest? So, say if from it just being a thought in your head to now promoting it on as a webtoon, I should say, and now as a Kickstarter. So, like, where did the idea of Blue Tempest come from to now promoting it?
No problem. Honestly, let me see. The creative process really was just that, like I said, I watch a lot of anime and read a lot of manga. So how it started was that in some of my favorite animes, let's say I didn't like the route it went, or I felt like it could have went a different way based on what I was seeing. I would just have that feeling for a lot of anime slash like manga over the years. And it's like, I wonder if it went this way, or if the story was about this, how it'd be. So that's how it started initially. And then I started to read a lot of webtoons. That's when I got into webtoons, and I started to see that webtoons could really be made by anybody. Like once I went on the site, they're like regular people just like me, just creating the stories that they have in their mind. So once I saw that, I was like, maybe I could come up with a story for a manga or a webtoon and see how that goes. And then this was like last year that I had all these thoughts. What was it, 20? Oh, no, it was 2020. Yeah, like 2020 last year that I had these thoughts. And then from there, I just started to create the story. Every day I would come home from work and just start typing it down, because I have it all like in the script form or a novel on my computer. So every day I would just come home and get new ideas for it and type them down. Like it was a long, well, it wasn't really a long process, honestly. To get the whole thing, it probably took me like 3 months to finish the whole story. Of like the 80 to 90 chapters. Of course, every day I'm going into it and revising it because as I watch more anime, new themes and new ideas are coming into my head of how to make the story deeper and more intricate and stuff like that. Because in the beginning, it was just like the fundamental foundation that I laid out, but it still missed like substance and stuff like that. But yeah, that was basically how it came about. It was just me wanting to create my own thing with my own characters and see them like this and see how this could go. And also, I made everyone in my webtoon mostly Black because I've never really seen like representation of like people of my skin color in anime or like webtoons or manga before. So like, let me do this and see how it could come out. And that's just been the creative process so far in regards to doing it. I did the Kickstarter because honestly, one of my friends just suggested it to me. He was like, because everybody that knows me knows that I have the webtoon, and they know like sometimes I could be serious about it, or sometimes I'm not, just because I have a lot of different projects, honestly. Because like I said, I'm a photographer. I still have regular like life to deal with, and then I'm still working on the webtoon. So sometimes I'm not like as serious about promoting it as I should. It's just like if people stumble upon it and they read it, then that's good. If they don't, then stuff like that. So he was just telling me to make a Kickstarter so that I could get more funding for it because I don't do it myself. I outsource it to like I have a team of people that like works on all the creating and stuff like that. So I pay them a monthly fee to get everything done. And sometimes I may not always have that fee. So sometimes I can get like procrastinated or I could get backed up and we take a pause for like a month or two. So he was saying to get some funding so that I could be like 4 to 5 chapters ahead for a while. He told me to do the Kickstarter and see how it goes. So that's how I went from the creative process to now having a Kickstarter and promoting it, even though I've had it for about like a year now and we're 10 chapters in. So
Well, speaking of your team that you outsource to, how has your experience been searching for those collaborators, and how did you know that they were right for this particular project?
got you. Honestly, it was a little difficult. I went through like 3 different websites. I went through Freelancer, I went through another website, and then I went through Upwork. But Upwork is what ended up sticking and what worked for me. Um, Let me see. In regards to finding the team, honestly, I had to do a lot of interviews. I probably did, well, I had 3 different job posts because I did it multiple times. My team has changed over like the years. At first, I had a team of like 3 people that they all knew each other. They're like, they came as like a group. So it's like I hired one person and he had 2 people that were like his relatives and they all did like everything as a team. So one would do the sketch work, one would do the line art, and then one would do the coloring. So I got them as a group. But because of like their communication and the fact that they weren't meeting the deadlines, I had to end up changing them out and having to do it all over again and finding someone else that could do all 3 things. So after that, I found another guy that he could do line art and coloring, and he was okay at sketching. That wasn't really his forte. He could do everything else. So then after that, just recently, I now had to do interviews again to find someone that could do sketching, so that now it's a 2-man team where someone does the sketching, then they send it over to him, then he does the line art and he does the coloring, and then that would be the end result. So that's really what I just had to do. I just had to go on Upwork and I had to do interviews for like months where it was like I would message a bunch of people. Basically, I'd have to look at their portfolio first, see what type of work they've done previously, see if they're like specialized in comics or anime or manga, if they know any expertise in that. After looking through their portfolio, I'd reach out to them and tell them, okay, this is the project. I'd have to give them the whole rundown of the project multiple times, tell them the expectations, what to expect, how much money I'm going to pay them. And then after that, I tell them to do like a test run for me. So like I'll give them like a script and tell them, sketch this out for me. Let me see how you get it done. Because making sure that they could do the art style I wanted was a big part of it. Because I mean, a lot of them were saying, yeah, I could do this, yeah, I could do that. But I just had to go off of their word instead of seeing it. So I would be like, do a test sketch so I could confirm that you can actually do what I'm asking of you. So I did that multiple times, went through different people, finally found people that matched my artwork that I was going for, and that's how I chose who to bring on my team. So that's usually just what's the process. I have to go through do multiple interviews, just like a job interview, see who can fit what I'm looking for in regards to now they got to be able to communicate, meet the deadlines, and just meet my artwork. And then once they're okay with the budget and the expectations, then that's how I would go picking them out, basically.
Well, you have a team of people. Normally, when I speak with someone, they have like maybe a letterer, and just an illustrator, and then they do the writing or somewhere along those lines, or maybe like an editor. But how much did it run you really to have this team of people to do your work? I mean, I'm pretty sure there's people out there who are listening who want to know the cost. Like they understand things cost money, but they like on average, how much does it really cost?
Got you, got you. So see, I mean, I feel like the cost really depends on who you work with as well and who you can get to work with you, because the cost is always negotiable, you know what I'm saying? Because in the beginning, some people were trying to charge me like 1,200 for what I was asking. Some people were charging me 1,200.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah, and I was like, wow. And I was like, in my head, I was like, I mean, it is like a graphic novel that I'm asking you to create, so I could understand. You feel like you're valued at 1,200, and that's fine. I wasn't like saying no, I'm not gonna pay that. It just didn't work for me. So like, what I pay and what my limit was when I first started was $300 because to do the 3 steps, I would just pay like it would basically be like increments of 100 for all 3 steps because my panels are not that long. Like my story is probably like 20 to 25 panels, which I don't feel is like really lengthy to be paying too much. So I was able to pay the people on my team $300 like consistently every time to do it. And that's the expectation I had to set with like everybody I was interviewing because I had to let them know, yeah, this is the job. I'm paying you $300. I would never like go out of my budget because I know if I went out of my budget, I wouldn't be able to pay everybody. So I had to make sure I found people that was okay with that budget, which is what also made it harder. Because like I said, since people are like used to doing like these designs, they're like, no, I should get paid more. And I was like, I'm not gonna try to convince you to take less. So I understand that. And it's like, okay, I have to move on, find somebody else that may be okay with the price that I'm setting. So I would say it's just finding the median between not overpaying too much for what you can, like not going out of your budget, but also not trying to lowball the people that you're hiring. So for me, 300 was a good um, median, and the people that work for me, they're okay with it. They have no complaints or whatever. And it's always subject to change. So like if I end up needing more workload out of them and I can afford it, I would also, go up in budget for them. But that's how much I pay. I pay 300 every month or every chapter. So if I do 2 chapters a month, it'd be 600. But I do 1 chapter a month, so it's 300. So.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask that, but I was like, I was going to ask, but I was like, no, maybe I shouldn't, because people are uncomfortable talking about money. But you mentioned it, so thankfully. But what else? What other advice would you offer to artists you wish someone told you when you first started?
Let me see. Advice I wish I mean, I would say probably just let me know how to find the right people, really and truly. That's probably the hardest part about it. Just, like I said, doing all the interviews, making sure you find people that work for you in every aspect. Cause like I would find people that they worked for me good in regards to like the art style, but the communication wasn't good. So like I said, the first team I had, I really liked them and I felt bad that we had to like stop working with each other, but it was the communication was just not good. Like I'd hear back from them like a month and a half later past the deadline I expected. So it's like I have like the deadline that I want to release this at this time of the month. And now I have to like push it way back and like because people would come to me and be like, when am I releasing the chapter? Because they were actually, interested in seeing it. And it's like, I want to push the story further. I have specific months or days I want to drop stuff. And because these people are not really good at communicating, I'm being held back. And it's like making my work diminish and holding up for me. So I would just say, work with someone can meet all the standards of what you're expecting in regards to communication, art style, stuff like that. I would also say to flesh out your story real good before going into it. You don't have to rush anything because even to this day, like I said, I'm finished with all 80 chapters, but I still all the time go through to revamp stuff all the time. Sometimes I have to delete whole chapters and do them over again because I feel like it was missing stuff, or I feel like change this, change that. I'm constantly adding characters. So it's always just like a learning process and to have to keep going through it and stuff like that. So don't be afraid, I guess, to have to make change or if something doesn't work out. As long as it's not created yet, you'll be fine. The only time where like everything is set in stone is, of course, after you've paid someone and it's already like out there. And even then, you could change it. Honestly, you could just have them redo the whole chapter. Because right now, the art style that I have for the old chapters is being redone by the person that I have on my team now. So even then, once he's finished with that, I'm going to swap out the chapters that people are seeing now for other chapters that are adding like more context in it, because of course I've grown from what I did a year ago, and since I've grown I want to add like the new growth and the new visuals into the comic. So yeah, I would just say be very flexible and adapt to what to the process, because things could change every day, honestly, whether it's with the story or who you're working with. Because I never expected to have to change to someone else. I thought like once I got the group, I would just stick with them for the whole time. And I was like, okay, I never got to worry about something. But it seems like something's always coming up where I have to change, switch someone out, or change this, change the flow of this. And yeah, so I just say be adaptable and flexible to anything that could happen within the creative process.
Okay, well, my last question for you, Liquan, is what is your idea of success? I ask that because as creators, if we're not getting regular paychecks from a full-time job or making consistent revenue from our art, we're considered failures. Many of us will put our dreams and projects on the back burner or give them up altogether because this career path can be highly intimidating and competitive. So, what is your idea of quote unquote success?
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, for me as a creative, um, I wouldn't say success was ever really rooted around money. At first, I mean, in the early days, probably I probably felt like that, but now I feel like success is just seeing people love my art in some type of way. Like positive feedback is always how I deem success in my way. So like whether it's like people commenting on my webtoon like in the comments, or people coming to me personally and be like, oh Laquan, I really like this chapter, and they're giving the feedback about what they liked and this and that. To me, that makes me feel successful, at least for my art, because it's being observed and appreciated and acknowledged from other people. So as long as it continues to grow, even if I don't really necessarily make any revenue off of it, it's really just good to hear people like it's good and people like it and it's doing good. Because I feel like even some manga or anime, back in the days, they probably were not making any real revenue, but it was very like popular and liked by people. And eventually, off of being popular and liked, the revenue started to come in afterwards. It was like they gained the popularity first, and then the revenue came in. The revenue didn't come in like first thing as they expected. Some people probably didn't even have much hope in their art in the beginning, and then it ended up blooming into something that was really successful. So yeah, I just really do it. I just really measure success as people giving me good feedback and liking the art. Honestly, whenever someone gives me good feedback, it makes me feel more inspirational and motivated to keep doing stuff, because it's like, oh, okay, you liked it. That means I should keep going, as opposed to if someone told me they didn't like it and it's like, maybe I should stop. So that's just how I deem success.
Yeah, I totally can identify with that because I'm also a writer, and the time in between my first and second book, people were asking when the second one would be done,
Mm-hmm.
and it really motivated me to like hurry up and finish it. Like I like to have my stuff flushed out just like how you do, but it really motivated me to get it done quicker. And then the third one, everyone's asking me about that as well. And it's like I said, it just motivated me to get it done and also do some writing, just some fandom stuff, random fandom stuff that online that people like fanfic stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
someone asked me about it today, and they thought I had abandoned it because it hasn't been updated. At least the second part hasn't been updated in like 2-3 years. I'm like, oh, we're in a pandemic, so you got to be patient. But yeah, it's motivating me to pretty much complete that so they can have it and I can be done with it really. So yeah, I totally agree with positive feedback, letting you know that something was successful.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely the best thing. And yeah, that's really all it is.
Okay, well, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on about Blue Tempest that I may have missed, or did you want to discuss rewards for potential backers? Or I know you have a Patreon as well, right? Connected to your webtoon. Did you want to maybe discuss that as well?
Yeah, I was going to discuss that next. I was going to say, honestly, I prefer people to just do the Patreon other than the Kickstarter. In all honesty, at least for support. I mean, if people just want to do a one-time donation as a backer, that's fine too. Either one is fine with me. I just like the Patreon more because I'm more actually like active on there, and I can like continuously give like people stuff for being like supporting Blue Tempest, as opposed to like the Kickstarter. I wasn't really like sure what the like rewards would be, just because like I've never done it before and I don't know like how it goes, since it's not like a monthly subscription thing as opposed to the Patreon. So I just say anybody that wants to like support Blue Tempest, I rather them just be a Patreon. It's like I think the lowest is like $5. Um the first tier is $5. With that they get I post the chapters on there before I post them on Webtoon, so they get early releases to everything. They can always see it first. Also, they get behind the scenes, so they get to see me like do the like all the processes. So they get to see it from the beginning where I'm sketching it, to then the line art, to then when it's fully colored. So that's what they get on the first tier. In the second tier, you get everything from the first tier as well. But I also think we have I send out like, let me see, I give them wallpapers that they can like use on their phone if they want, like of the characters or of different like scenes in the scenario from Blue Tempest. Like if they want to see like the main character as like I say a lock screen or a wallpaper, I post those as well in very like high quality so they can save them. And then I also, what else is there? I think that's it for the second one. I think there's more. I just can't remember. And then the third one is 20. I think it's $25 a month. That one is where anyone, you get everything from the first and second one, but you can also create your own character to be in Blue Tempest. So with that one, I'd reach out to you personally. Anyone that like does that one, I reach out to them personally and tell them they can literally make their character from scratch. They can make them look however they want. They can add whatever details they want to them. It really doesn't matter to me. They have full creativity to work on it. And then within like a month, I'll get it created and get it back to them. And then I'll just keep going back and forth and making sure like, do you want to add this? What colors do you want? Make sure it's like exactly to their liking. And then after that, I'll find a way to put them in the story, which isn't really hard because I have a lot of characters where it's like, I have a lot of characters, but I don't know how I want them to look. So it actually works for me and them. It's like they get to create their character, and now I have a way to like put a name to a character without me having to create a design for them. So it's a win-win situation for us both in that situation. So yeah, I would just say if anybody wants to support the Patreon, it's appreciated. But they can also do the Kickstarter. It really doesn't matter. It's just I know a Kickstarter, if you don't reach the goal, you don't get anything, and it just returns to the people. Whereas like Patreon, it's a one-time thing. Once they keep paying that, I'll always be supplying them with the rewards, and it just helps Blue Tempest go a longer way, because then I don't have to always worry about funding with my own money. I can just use the support money to pay my team, and then we'll always have consistent chapters back to back, and they never have to worry about a lapse in what's going on now, just like the lapse I'm having right now. We're on like hiatus for another 2 months. So.
All right. Well, again, I want to thank the creator and writer of the webtoon Blue Tempest, Liquan Cruz. I highly recommend our listeners to give the Kickstarter a look, share, and back if they can. All of Liquan's socials, webtoon link will be listed alongside the Kickstarter and his Patreon in this episode's details. Again, I'm KS Garner, and you have been listening to the Solo Nerd Bird podcast. Thank you.